What's up, everyone? Mr. Octogonal here from Octogonal Gaming. Now, I'm doing something today that's probably about 7 months overdue. Now, back in like July or August, I had a vote for the Octogonal Hall of Fame, and I was supposed to reveal it for the 100 subscriber special, and I still haven't done that yet, and we're now at, I believe, 366 subscribers. I've gained 2 or 3 today, so shout out to those people. But I've just sort of forgotten about it, and I finally remembered to do it, so I'm going to do it. Now, I'm going to have another Octagonal Hall of Fame poll up this week. So we're going to have 10 new players, and also the 5 players who did not make it on the first poll, I'll have a poll for them. So how this works is, back in July or August, I chose 10 players who I thought were worthy of the Hall of Fame, which I think you guys get, like, the Hall of Fame concept, like some of the greatest players of my channel. Put them in a poll. Top 5 get Hall of Fame. And there's a special award for one player, the Golden Goat Award. It was originally the Golden Jacket, but that's what you get when you go to the NFL Hall of Fame. So I just changed it to the Golden Goat Award. And that is for, like, the best, the superior. So the 10 players, a lot of them were from a Brown series, and a lot of them were from previous series that aren't going on anymore. And the new ballot that will come up this week will be from, like, the Chargers series, the Hawks Smiley, the Illinois Dynasty, so stuff like that. So not a lot of this stuff is recent, but here are the 5 first Hall of Famers in the Octagonal Hall of Fame, and your first Golden Goat winner. The first player being inducted to the Hall of Fame, wide receiver from the Cleveland Browns franchise, Coleman. So Coleman was the big first-round rookie who we got to use and develop, and boy, did he have a career. So as a rookie, I think we went 3-13. It was not pretty. We only had a few bright spots. One of them was Coleman. He had an absolutely nuts season. 115 catches for 1,948 yards and 8 touchdowns. He would have broken Calvin Johnson's receiving yard record and probably gotten over 2,000 receiving yards if he was fully healthy. He got injured week 16 and he missed week 17. He was about 20 yards off of the record. Obviously, like, I'm a little happy that Calvin Johnson kept his record. He's my favorite athlete of all time, but at the same time, kind of wanted Coleman to break it. He unsurprisingly won Offensive Rookie of the Year. And he dominated after that. So if you look at his stats, he had 2 more 100-catch seasons. Every season he had at least 1,000 yards. The stats went down year by year, but that's because the receivers on the team got better. Season 2, they added Barry Davenport. Season 3, we drafted Linval the Flash Boye, who was basically a little bit worse version of Rashad Pinkney from the Chargers series. And then Season 4, we traded for Odell Beckham. So Barry Davenport and Odell Beckham and Linval Boye are great receivers, which Coleman didn't really have in Season 1, but then he had later in this series. So looking at his career stats, 472 receptions. That's about, I would say, between a little over 90 per year, sort of about 95 receptions a season for 7,867 yards, so almost 8,000 career yards. That's a lot. 35 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns per season. Coleman has had a phenomenal career on this channel, and I'd love for him to potentially be in another series in the future. The next player we have in the Octagonal Hall of Fame is the very first player ever drafted in the Cleveland Browns franchise, #1 overall, and that is outside linebacker TKE Youngblood. Now, TKE Youngblood actually had 2 series. Of course, he was in the Brown series. He also had a my career. He was on the Toronto Raptors. It was about 20 episodes. It was a really fun series. Kind of wish I continued it. But he was really developing into a great player. But I couldn't find, like, all his career stats in that series, so we're just really going to go over the Browns. He actually, the top 10 plays I did at the 1-year anniversary of my channel, he actually had one for the Raptors where he dunked over 3 Atlanta Hawks. He was a very good dunker. So, TKE Youngblood, his career stats as a rookie, he barely lost the Defensive Rookie of the Year to someone on the Ravens, Parrish Holman, I think his name was, not entirely sure. 78 tackles, 19 tackles for a loss. The tackles for losses were pretty consistent. 10.5 sacks and 1 interception. He had a really good rookie year. His second year was probably his best year. Career high in tackles, 18 tackles for a loss, 19.5 sacks, and 4 interceptions. I don't know how he got 4 interceptions, as he's not normally in coverage, but I think one went off of someone's back. I'm not entirely sure. Season 3, he had another great year, 20.5 sacks, 18 tackles for a loss. And then Season 4, he was injured for about 3 or 4 games, so that's why his stats were a little down. 71 tackles, 12 tackles for a loss, 12.5 sacks. So it wasn't that he just did not have a great year. It's just that he was hurt. His career stats: 320 tackles, 67 tackles for a loss, 52.5 sacks, and 5 interceptions. So TKE Youngblood. He had a really good career in the Cleveland Browns series. Very happy we took him #1 overall. Of course, #2 in that draft, we took franchise quarterback Moses Cody, who wasn't a Hall of Famer, but he was still pretty good. Just too many injury concerns probably prevented him from the first poll. Next up, we have David Johnson, another player from the Cleveland Browns franchise. We traded for him the very first episode. We traded cornerback Tramon Williams and cornerback K'Wan Williams straight up to the Cardinals for David Johnson. That series wasn't the most realistic. I had 5 first-round picks a year. And I had David Johnson. I traded for Odell Beckham. I traded for Aaron Donald. I traded for the Honey Badger. Wasn't the most realistic. I tried to make it realistic, but the very first episode wasn't too realistic. The Charger series is somewhat realistic. It's not the most realistic, but I do my best. So, David Johnson was very consistent. He started every single game like he never got hurt. TKE Youngblood, I said, got hurt, and he didn't play at all of Season 1 because he wasn't on the team. He was still in college. And Coleman got hurt at the end of Year 1, and I don't know if he got hurt after that. But David Johnson was one of, I believe, 2 players to start every game. The other one was Emmanuel Ogbah, who was on the team originally. So David Johnson, extremely consistent. His first 4 years, he saw very similar stats, between 10 and 18 touchdowns. The attempts were similar. The yards were between 1,207 and 1,384. But the final year of the series, 2020, was when he really took off. 257 attempts for 1,934 yards and 23 touchdowns. He won MVP. He actually did not win Super Bowl MVP. I know it says he won Super Bowl MVP. That was actually Cody Kessler, my mistake. I thought he should have won MVP. He did really good in both Super Bowls that we won, which was 2018 and 2019. I thought he deserved to win the Super Bowl MVP over Cody Kessler. And then the 2019 Super Bowl, Nino Wortham won MVP. We may be chatting about in a little bit. We'll see. But David Johnson, model of consistency, great running back for the Cleveland Browns franchise. The 4th Hall of Famer we have is Josh Swisher. We cannot leave out the man himself, Josh Swisher. He's the only one of these 5 who were not in the Charger series. And he also is the only one without stats. He wasn't really in a set series like all these guys. He was in a few series. He was in the Combo Buy League, online leagues, a few smaller series. So he didn't really have career stats. But the clutch plays he made, the big plays he made, I feel like were enough. We even gave him a nickname in Josh Swisher. I thought it was enough to put him on this Hall of Fame. And Josh Swisher, one of the greatest players in channel history. Of course, the buzzer beater in the Combo My League, which is actually this game. And you'll see it in just a second. He also hit a last-second shot in the online My League. It was one of his streams in the summer. We were up by 30. It was against the Nets, so it wasn't really a big deal. But Josh Swisher, I've always played really well with him. Always super fun. And Josh Swisher, the buzzer beater, I will never forget. Here's the buzzer beater right here. Josh Swisher, oh my goodness. Yep, I remember the voiceover. Very crazy. So now on to #1, the greatest player. Well, you can debate maybe they're not the greatest player in Octogonal history, but at the time, they definitely were. Greatest player in Octogonal history. You can debate if he still is now, but he was at least. And the very first ever Golden Goat winner goes to cornerback from the Cleveland Browns franchise and left fielder from his road to the show, Nino Wortham. So, we actually traded for him in the Season 3 offseason. I was going to draft him, So it's not like I had no idea who this guy was. The very first draft, I was going to draft him. We had picks 13 and 14. This was the year we got Swisher. Him and Swisher actually went to the same college, Tennessee. We have the 13th and 14th pick. I was going to pick him at 14, but for whatever reason, I was just opposed to picking him at 13. We traded down with the Saints, and the Saints took him at pick 13. We were going to pick him at pick 14. I don't know why that one pick difference was such a big deal. We eventually ended up trading for him. I think it was Vernon Hargreaves and a couple picks for him. And looking at his stats in the Brown series, his stats aren't that spectacular. But the thing that's spectacular, which I didn't even know until I was getting all the stats today, he had the exact same stat line from both of the seasons he was on the team. 68 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 3 interceptions. I'm not sure about the fumble forces, but that's just ironic. That's why he's the Golden Goat winner. And he also won Super Bowl MVP in 2019. He had an insane playoff run. He had like 5 interceptions in that playoffs. And also, I do need to finish the 2020 season. I know it's been like 6 months. I'm going to have a poll on the Chargers episode I upload today of what I should stream tomorrow. Maybe we'll stream Nino Orvin Road to the show. That's another thing. But I also have to upload the All-Star game. So we'll figure it out. But Nino Orvin, exceptional career for the Browns so far. 136 total tackles, 8 tackles for a loss and 6 interceptions. And those are just the 2 seasons he was on the team. I think he had like 5 or 6 interceptions one year of the Saints. And now looking at his road to the show stats, he's played one less game, I think, this year so far than last year. Last year was called up in like late June, and this year we're at the All-Star break, so makes sense. He's never really been hurt. I mean, he was hurt in the minor leagues. His second year of the minor leagues, first year of AAA, his very first game, he tore his MCL, was done for the year. So, looking at his stats are very similar. He's gotten 5 more at-bats this year than last year so far. His hit total is exactly the same at 100. Actually, I don't think that's right. I think one of them is 150. I'm not looking at the screen. I'm looking at somewhere else. So I think one of the years, I think last year was 150. He hit less home runs last year with 33, more RBIs, so of 103, more stolen bases with 60, and a better batting average with 402. But this year, 41 home runs, 91 RBIs, 37 stolen bases, and a 3.76 batting average. And last year, he and the Rays barely missed the playoffs, and this year it looks like the Rays are going to definitely make the playoffs. And remember, he won the Home Run Derby. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys are happy with the 5 guys who were inducted. Some of you newbies may have never even heard of TKE Youngblood, but you'll probably never forget that name. I want to do something with TKE Youngblood. His name is so sick. And he was such a fun player. But later this week, like Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm going to make a new ballot of players from the Illinois Dynasty, from the Chargers franchise, from the Hawks My League. If there are any players you want to request, I'm not saying it's a guarantee they'll make the top 10, which it's a 10-person poll. But if you guys have someone you really want to see in there, like, I'll just spoil it right now. You don't need to request Eric Fisher. Like, Eric Fisher's obviously going on the poll. Actually already made it. Spoiler alert, Eric Fisher is one of the 10 players on it. I think that's sort of obvious. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like and subscribe. Sorry I've not uploaded this in about 7 months. But hopefully for the second round of Octogonal Hall of Fame, I'll be more consistent. And congratulations to Corey Coleman, TKE Youngblood, David Johnson, Josh Swisher, and the Golden Goat winner, Nino Orvin. So peace out.